loop, London, 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 London.
You're tuning to Bleep Radio. That was the wonderful sounds of Lauren Doss, out recently on Salmon Universe, Richard Pike and JQ's label, based here in London, where we are back for the first time in a few months for Just Between Us, the monthly residency from Private Agenda. In every episode, we're trying to join the dots between the music that we make and those that help us to make it, an attempt at exploring the finer details of collaboration and artistry in the modern creative ecosystem through conversation and music. And to welcome us back to the studio, we're really, really excited to welcome Nat Redding today. He's a multi-instrumentalist, 1/3 of folk trio AK Patterson, session musician who's worked with artists like Esther Anthology, whose music we're going to be playing later today, an animator working under the name CEL, and just today actually has released a wonderful video for the latest thing from AK Patterson, which we're going to play as well. But we're just going to ease into the show with some Nina Simone.
Nothing but a dirty, dirty old man. You do your thinking with a one-track mind. You keep talking about heaven and glory, but on your face is a different story. Clean up your rap, your story's getting dusty. Wash out your mouth, your lies are getting rusty. Can't believe nothing you say, 'cause I'm around and I see what you do. You know you're funkier than a mosquito's tweeter. You got a mouth like a herd of bold weavers. Same old game, same old thing. You never change, always rapping about the same old thing. I got something to tell you. I got something to tell you, baby, that you ain't hip to, baby. Blowing minds is a thing of the past. You blew your chance, that's why you never last. You wanna be a graduated mother, but in reality you're just another brother. You think you slick, but you could stand a lot of greasing. The things you do ain't never really pleasing. Can't believe nothing you say. I'm around to see what you do. You know you're funkier than a mosquito's tweeter. You got a mouth like a herd of bold weavers. Same old game, same old thing. Always rapping about the same old thing. All right now. Bye. Ooh, you're beautiful. 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 Put yourself upon a big stool. nothing worse than an educated fool. Talking text is your favorite conversation, but peace and love is a famous generation. What's in your head is really started showing. Your conversation's getting kinda boring. I can't believe nothing you say, 'cause I'm around and I see what you do. You know you're funkier than a mosquito streeter. You got a mouth like a herd of boll weavers. Same old game, same old game, same old thing. You never change. Same old game, same old thing. Always rapping about the same old thing.
That's a round of applause for Nina Simone and also for our guest here in the studio this month, Nat Redding. I'm delighted to have Nat on the show. We've been working together on various music projects for many, 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 many years. In fact, some of the first music I ever made was in that. So we're going to be able to dig deep into our musical pasts, and coming right up to the present day, finding all about the latest projects that Nat's involved with to do with AK Patterson in particular. And we're playing their new single, which is out today. And we'll also be talking about all the various projects that we've collaborated on with Nat, both collaborations on particular tracks, musical performance, but also visually as well. And that's worked on some visuals for Private Agenda before. So over the course of the next 2 hours, we're going to be exploring all these different ways in which we've been able to collaborate over the last 10, 15 years, as much as that, many, many years anyway. But first of all, I thought Nat could maybe introduce himself, and I just wanted to ask, so how was it that you fell in love with music, and how is it that you've stuck with it this long? What was it that enabled you to be able to pick up almost any instrument in front of you? Can you maybe just tell us a little bit about your intro?
So hello, I'm Nat. Thanks for having me on, Sean. I've been, I'm a big fan of this show, so I'm really happy to be on. So I'm very lucky to have a mum who's a music teacher, and ever since a young age, like, my parents have been very supportive in kind of anything musical I've ever done. If it was, if it was something classical or contemporary, whatever it is, they've always just kind of been there, pushing me along. And then, throughout childhood, just started playing instruments and things like that. And then we were lucky enough to grow up in like the amazing town of High Wycombe, which for some reason in the kind of mid-noughties was this absolute hub of music. And, there were like many venues in this small town which were all promoting all these different kinds of music. So, you could go any Friday night, you could go and see one of your mates playing in a band and any style of music, and it's just a really inspiring place to be. So growing up with like Sean and Martin alongside us, like we had bands, we were always up for new challenges, different directions, whatever it was. And then I could play these different instruments, so I kind of kept getting shunted into all these different groups and made to play whatever I could. And so that's kind of how it started, really.
I almost feel one of the most exciting things about growing up together in High Wycombe is because Wycombe doesn't necessarily have a really renowned music scene,
No.
which allowed everybody, I think, to find their own ways of expressing themselves, and that was really kind of any form of music you could play on a lineup, and you could have heavy metal bands, and you could have completely purely acoustic bands, and I think it actually, in that way, it was almost no pressure to experiment and.
It's a real community as well. Kind of everyone was kind of helping each other out, and like it didn't matter that there was a metal band before you. You kind of smelt like fags and earth and stuff, and then destroyed the stage, and then you came on afterwards and played some sort of like Balearic pop ballad thing. It just kind of worked. That's the Wycombe vibe, I guess.
It's definitely the case that all of the eclecticism of all the music that you've made in your past, also that we continue to make in Private Agenda, was kind of very much grounded in those early years. And the thing as well that's really amazing, actually, looking back on it, is so much of the music that we're going to play today is by close friends of ours, collaborators, people we've known for many years that were all part of that scene and have since gone and worked with other people and done all kinds of other projects. So it's really testament to that. It's it was quite a time. I think you look back on it at the time and you kind of think, oh, the music I was making maybe wasn't that great, or the places we were playing weren't great and stuff. But actually, it was a real, it was a place to learn.
I think the other thing was kind of leaving school. A few of us weren't really sure what to do, so we didn't leave school straight away. We left school kind of, and then a lot of us kind of hung around in Wickham. But the thing that we still had in common was this music. So how we kept hanging out was we kept playing music and doing shows and things like that. So yeah, that's kind of continued to this day, and a lot of these people are still making music, and you know, you're going to hear some in some of the tracks I've selected, but also it just goes beyond that. Like people, like there's multiple people with radio shows and stuff. It's mad the amount of music that's come out of this one small group of people in Wickham, and you know, rife with like creativity. Basically, it's been great.
But before we dig in a little bit deeper, let's pick something else that Nat selected. This is Tom Zay.
Te quero, querendo, quero bem.
Te quero, querendo, quero bem.
Chiclete, chiclete, mastigo, doridor.
Chiclete, mastigo, doridor.
Te choro, chuvinha, chuviscou.
Te choro, chuvinha, chuviscou.
Chamego, chamego, me deixa, me deixou.
Mego, chamego, me deixa, me deixou.
Adorador, adorador.
Adorador, adorador.
Adorador, adorador.
Adorador, adorador.
Mas eu te espero porque o grito dos teus olhos é mais longo que o braço da floresta e aparece atrás dos montes, dos ventos e dos edifícios. E o brilho do teu riso é mais quente que o sol do meio-dia e mais, e oh, oh, oh. Te quero, querendo, quero bem.
Te quero, querendo, quero bem.
Chiclete, chiclete, mastigo, doridor.
Chiclete, mastigo, doridor.
Te choro, chuvinha, chuviscou.
Te choro, chuvinha, chuviscou.
Chamego, chamego, me deixa, me deixou.
Mego, chamego, me deixa, me deixou.
Adorador, adorador.
Adorador, adorador.
Adorador, adorador.
Adorador, adorador.
Mas eu te espero na porta das manhãs, porque o grito dos teus olhos é mais e mais e mais. E depois que você partiu, o mel da vida apodreceu na minha boca. Apodreceu na minha boca.
That was Southbound Cruising, Ilya Rudman, Joe Pandur on jazz guitar, and Private Agenda. That's out now on New Northern Soul, and the record is Young Men Drive Fast. And the vocal engineering was done by a dear friend of ours, Paul Carr, part of a dynasty of Carrs working in music that we've also from the Wickham scene that Martin and I were just talking about. Talking of Paul Carr, a few of the selections that we're going to be playing this afternoon have been masterly produced, mastered by Paul. And the next song that we want to play has got Paul Carr's fingertips all over it, right?
Yeah. So the next song I chose was WikiHow Adventure Cruise and Phone Died. So Richard's a good friend from school, and every now and again he just produces a song which just like blows my mind. And he played this on his radio show a few months ago, and I was like, what is that song? What is that song? And then found out it was one of his songs, and then obviously so now he's got two in his catalogue, which really blow me away. But as Sean said, this was was it mastered or produced? Maybe produced by, or mixed by Paul Carr, who like back in the day we were all in a band together at school, and we made some stuff. There's a really weird 3-part YouTube documentary about us making this music out there if you want to go and look it up. It's called In the Studio with Count, a band that never existed. We made like 3 tracks and it just never came out, but it's a funny video if you want to see some very young people thinking they're very cool and buying reduced sandwiches from Tesco. I absolutely love this song and everything Rich has ever done, to be honest. So enjoy.
And since then, Paul has been a guest on this show just between us, so you can dip back into the back catalogue on SoundCloud to check it out. And he's now had production credits on Dave's Mercury Prize winning album, and also Shame's Songs of Praise, for example. So, yeah, Songs of Praise. Not these Songs of Praise.
All right, okay.
The Songs of Praise, an excellent post-punk album from a few years ago. But let's check out this WikiHow Adventure Cruise tune. It's really, really something magical. Hope you enjoy it.
All your stories can be a face of an angel. Phone died from the cold. Are you watching, waiting, a replicant?
That was WikiHow Adventure Cruise, Phone Died, and you can find that song exclusively on a Lamatune compilation. I think for sure you can listen to it on YouTube, but I'm not sure it's available on Spotify. But you can get it. You can look for it. Phone Died, WikiHow Adventure Cruise, Berlin-based producer. Incredible work. In fact, everything he's released this year has been really, really magical, really pushing the boundaries of electronic music, pop, all of the above, vapor, etc. No, it's really fantastic. Richard Barr, also a very, very close friend of ours from the High Wycombe music scene that we were just talking about. And just while we were listening to the wonders of WikiHow Adventure Cruise, Nat was telling me a little bit about a project that I actually hadn't realised he'd been involved with, to do with soundtrack work. So I wanted to ask you, how did you get into soundtrack work generally? Because this was a string to your bow, I suppose, and a project that I'd missed somewhere along the lines. Maybe can you tell us a little bit about that, and we'll maybe listen to something that you've worked on?
Yeah. So originally, I was asked whether I wanted to help out Pete Carr, or Thology, as he goes by, and or Drum Thing. You know, he's got a couple of names, to make a soundtrack for a film that our friend from school, Jonty, was making. It's a short film called Cake, and I don't know, it's about 8 minutes long, and we had to make these kind of tracks behind it. But I'd already kind of been working in kind of the film soundtrack world and really enjoying it, and the way like working against imagery and things like that. And then my girlfriend Kat, who was also an
First guest.
a guest on Bloop, who's worked with Private Gender a few times, making music videos. She was the producer on a feature-length film for another friend called Ollie Williams. It was his first kind of directorial role, and then Jonty was the assistant director on this production. And they kind of came to me and said, "Do you want to make this soundtrack with AK Patterson, who's the trio that I'm working with now?" So kind of pitched it to the guys, and we just come off like a tour, and we were just thinking, well, we haven't really got anything to do right now, so why not give it a go? Let's go for it. So kind of the premise of this film is centered around it's a story of a girl going on a Tinder date essentially, and kind of caught up in this weird artistic world of quite a lot of stuff happening in her head, and but there's these undertones of social media and how that plays on relationships and things like that. So we started to kind of build this world around the imagery that we were getting and from Ollie and the original kind of things they were filming. And so put together about 10 tracks for this film, all with different styles. I think we're going to play one in a minute. This one is called Apple of Life, and actually we're currently working on slimming it down to a release, hopefully later this year, maybe early next year. It's already later this year, isn't it? Yeah, next year. We're going to be releasing it next year. Getting it mixed by our friend Jay Pocknell, who is ex-Iguana Studios. I think he's based in Bristol now. I can't quite remember. Sorry, Jay. And so the premise of this track is I started with the Apple ringtone. I slowed it down about 1,000 times or something. And then I had this track which kind of built around that. And then I decided that rather than using the actual Apple ringtone and maybe getting, a bit in trouble for that, I looked at recreating the sounds and using different instrumentation. I used a bit of clarinet, saxophone. I think there's a bit of guitar in there. I can't really remember. And, just gave it a go. And this is kind of what's happened, really.
I have many, many questions, but let's dip into the magical kingdom. was Apple of Life from the soundtrack to A Dearest Dream, written, produced, composed, all of the above, envisaged, imagined by A.K. Patterson, of which Nat is 1/3. And before we talk a little bit more about Nat's work with A.K. Patterson, I wanted to talk a little bit more about how that collaboration together and how that collaboration came together and as film soundtrack work, and to talk a little bit about how it was that you came to work as part of A.K. Patterson first of all, and talk about how you as a trio collaborate. So can you maybe just tell us a little bit about who A.K. Patterson is, what your role within the group is, and how it started actually, because I've heard all these different tales actually about how you first started working within the group, and then maybe we could talk a little bit about specifically how the soundtrack came together, because it's a beautiful piece of work, and it was really great to actually listen to the full piece of work to ease us into the conversation anyway.
So I originally met Alex, who's the lead singer, Alex Patterson, in 2015, I think. We were at Latitude Festival, and we kind of met through a mutual friend. I was really hungover, and she said that she was playing on one of the smaller stages, and like, did anyone want to go and watch? And I just thought, I can't really move. Yeah, fine, I'll go and watch. And then kind of sat in this audience and just heard this insane girl like play amazing voice kind of thing, and was immediately like, oh God, like I need to play with this person. So so I kind of went up to her and just said, if you need any instruments, I play the cello, like if you wanted me to kind of come and play cello. And she'd actually been looking for someone, so that's kind of how it started. And then about 6 months later, we teamed up with Alfie, who's an insane double bass player, to become this trio. And originally we were kind of playing Alex's music together, and kind of building our parts around her songs. And then more recently we've kind of moved into new territory. We're trying to work more as a band, and we've released 2 EPs. Our first one came out in February 2018, which is called Shadows, and that was us kind of really finding our feet, recording, and we were really lucky to record with Charlie Andrew, who has previously recorded Alt J, Marika Hackman, Madness, I think he's done some work with. He's also recently worked with Zuni, I think, among loads of other people. But anyway, he's amazing. So we had this EP, which went down pretty well, and kind of off the back of that, we started touring, things like that, and we have a management deal now with East City Management, who are based in Tottenham, and it's just been growing really since there, and it's been a crazy journey, really. Been a crazy 5 years, and the way we work together, we kind of inspiration comes from everywhere. Sometimes it's off the back of something that Alex has basically fully formed, and we work in that way. Other times we'll be sitting in a room and like we'll start kind of playing some sort of rhythmic kind of beat together, and that just kind of grows out of control into some madness, which you'll hear in a minute. And then other times it will be like a story that we've heard, and we kind of build up on this story. And it's very free, very loose. Like, it means I can get to play lots of different instruments. There's no real, we don't really have a role. We kind of move around, do whatever we want. We've also started working with people with like remixing. So we're having a remix on this album done by our friend Ben DeVries, who's another producer, and he's awesome. He's brought something completely new to the table, and we're just kind of open to all these things. And Alex has started collaborating with Adam Betts, who's a member of, what are they called? He's a mad drummer. Look him up. He's insane. He's called Colossal Squid is the name of the group that he's with. But yeah, it's been great. Really fun.
One of the things that that I've definitely found that is quite unique about you as a trio is because you're all virtuoso musicians, and in a way, you bring a almost like a classical music sensibility to some extent, or at least a kind of avant-garde sensibility to folk music and everything. And actually, it seemed to me quite a natural progression for you to be able to make the soundtrack music like we just listened to from A Dearest Dream. Is that something that has always kind of been built into the band, that you actively seek out these projects where you can really push the musicality? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so essentially, originally we were a folk group. That's what we were. But we felt like we wanted to kind of make sure that we weren't becoming a folk group and that was kind of all we did. So we started taking on these new opportunities to try and grow. And Charlie isn't a folk producer, so he kind of pushed us in certain directions, which meant that we started to listen to different types of music, and kind of new boundaries kind of opened up from that. So, for example, Franco Bollo, who I think is the next track we're going to play. Is that right?
Yeah, I was thinking we could take a little tour of Square Leg Records. We're going to play some Franco Bollo next, but we'll play some Zuni as well, and we'll play the new single from AK Patterson as well. So we just get a sense of the landscape that's been built up by Charlie.
So Franco Bollo are a great example of a band that we kind of looked up to back in the early days. And we'd just met Charlie, and he was kind of showing us the artists he'd worked with, and I started to listen to Franco Bollo, who we met in the studio. Simon, who's the lead singer, was also worked regularly at St Pancras Old Church, which is a great venue in London, and they do all kind of different gigs. So this guy was kind of on the circuit, and you saw him around, and like this band are just like bang on, weird, great energy, like open to all these different ideas. And it was kind of like, oh yeah, I can see how like our music could kind of build into something a bit more in this world, and there are all these different instruments in Iguana Studios which are kind of open for anyone to use. And they kind of every time I hear something from that studio, you can hear these instruments because they're always there and they're used by all these different bands, and you can just hear this kind of these things. And yeah, it's definitely worked into our music as well. Yeah.
So let's check this out first of all. This is Good Times by Franco Bollo.
Let's go down from this window. Let's go have some fun, and I will try not to be a bore for you and your friends. It's while they're having a good time, good time, good time, good times, good times. Let's go down to the faraway green, the best of places I've ever seen. There's something in the air and it makes me laugh. There's something in your eyes that reminds me of good times. Good times, good times, good There's something in your eyes that reminds me of good times. Good times, good times, good times.
was Zuni Cascara. That's out today from all good digital stores, but particularly from Bandcamp if you can get it. And that's taken from the new EP, which is out next month, out on Square Leg Records. Zuni Cascara, another production from Square Records, and before that was Franco Polo, Good Times, all from Charlie Andrews, isn't it? Charlie Andrew is the producer of both those records, so great to play them back to back and to see the worlds in which AK Patterson has been in the past. And so Nat, AK Patterson, you have a new single out today, and it's the lead single, I suppose, or the first single from a new EP that's going to come out at the start of next year. Yep. What can you tell us while everything's still kind of under wraps and slowly enveloping? For those of you that were up early this morning, there was the premiere of the video from this first single, which is really worth a watch. It's really incredible, and I'll let Nat talk a little bit about that, and we'll post a link as well to the video for you to check it out. But I'm really interested in getting under the skin of this new record and finding out what it's about, what motivated you, and what we can expect over the next few months.
So it's a far more varied EP. As I said, this is our second EP, and this time around we've kind of opened all the taps and just kind of gone with whatever we thought was fun, really. So it's quite exciting because we recorded this we finished recording it last August, and then we got it mastered. So actually, because of lockdown and everything that's happened in the last year, it's kind of been slightly delayed, and back in December we started looking at a music video for it, and part of my work, I work as an animator, and I'd always kind of had this idea of these kind of weird cyborg kind of creature things, and I did a bit of it at university and kind of was thinking, maybe I can kind of bring this into some sort of music video, and then this track kind of suited that perfectly because it's this it's basically a story about a guy who is working in a steelworks and kind of has this epiphany moment and decides that he wants to do more, breaks out and goes into space. That's essentially the background for this track. And it's just been really great to work on. The track is kind of centered around some found sounds, some more percussive kind of wonkiness. Some of it is quite hard to listen to, other bits aren't, and we move through these different areas in the track. We're trying to bring in some sort of classical ideas, whilst really just going for it in other directions as well. Kind of this is where we've got to so far with it.
Yeah, after a few listens, it sounds to me like a track that sort of really pushes all the various elements that we've been talking about in terms of your musicality, but also really pushing the idea of what a pop track can be, what will work on the radio, this kind of thing, all these different things. So it's a really exciting first introduction to the new EP. Can we say what the new EP is called yet, or not yet? Maybe
I don't know.
No, let's not do that. I feel like there may have been one or two occasions on this show just between us where I've accidentally let it slip of a record. So I'm not going to do that. But let's play the new single. What's it called?
It's called Out of the Steelworks. Yeah.
So this is, I don't know if it's a world premiere or the first time ever, but one of the first.
I think this is the first time on the radio. I kind of forgot that I was coming on this show, and I'd kind of queued it up and then had to clear it last night. So who knows? Yeah, go on.
Well, we're doing it, and we're in a basement. So come find us.
Yes. Come on.
Out of the steelworks came music from the ghetto, a spark, a flaming ambition that sets me and my father apart. Rise from the rusted rebel, an epiphany from the dark, symphony of clamoring shook the sudden woke me with a start. The acid smoke, it shifted. We hit the chain bob in my heart.
AK Patterson, out of the Steelworks, that is out today with a fantastic video that we're going to be talking about a little bit more. But for those of you that already know AK Patterson and their music really, really well, you'll be able to hear how they've really pushed all these various elements of their sound forward and made something really, really striking from the new EP. And you can look out for loads of new music for them over the next few months in the lead up to their next EP, which will be out in the first few months of 2021. I can't believe I'm saying 2021 already. But yeah, no, I wanted to say definitely to everybody to watch the video that's come out today that accompanies that, and that's a project that Nat's been working on. It premiered this morning, and it's really something that provides obviously a new dimension to the music itself, but actually the idea of really thinking deeply about the visual identity of the music of really all kinds of projects that you've worked on has been something something that I know that you think about really, really deeply with everything you've done. So I wanted to ask you a little bit more about now, when you write music, to what extent you're also thinking in parallel about what the visual identity, what video material you're going to use, and how there's all these different ways you can present music. And this new single from AK Patterson is a really, really good example. But I also wanted to ask you about collaborations that we've done together with Private Agenda, and we're kind of really, really blessed really that there are so many different examples of tracks that you've played on in the past, and all kinds of different collaborations we've done, whether that be performing live together or playing on a particular track, but also we were lucky to work with you on the video for a track called Umber, which I'll play in a second. But yeah, I just wanted to ask really broadly how significant the visual identity kind of is to you, and how much that thinking in those terms plays into your music making and artistry at large, and then maybe a little bit specifically about
sure.
the new single from AK Patterson.
So essentially it started a few years ago. I was studying at university, and it was just after a summer where I'd come and stayed with Martin and Sean in Berlin for like an extended period of time. I think I was there for about a month in the end, but as part of that, we played at some great clubs. We played at Farbfanzer and that one on the roof, Klunker Kranisch.
That's right, yeah.
And these amazing gigs, and just seeing everybody having this great time and stuff, and like meeting different artists who are out there. And one of the guys who stood out was this guy called Selvi. He has a song called Tale to the Sky, who we might play a bit later, but we might not, I don't know. But essentially, going back to uni, I started to work in animation and kind of got the bug for it really quickly, and I was studying architecture, and my work became really centered around club architecture and nightlife, and looking back at this like kind of 60s electronic club architecture from Florence, which is a bit like, what do you call it? It's a bit niche, but it was really cool, and it was all about society and things like that. And knowing that I was a musician, my tutors were kind of encouraging me to work with music to make these animations to tell the story of buildings. So originally, I designed this kind of club in Greenwich on the site of Studio 338, which had the previous year had burnt down, and kind of made this animation centered around the track. And so I kind of showed this to Martin and Sean, And off the back of that, they would kind of encourage me to kind of reimagine something for their track Umber. Or I think actually you donated Umber to me to make something for uni. So I was like, okay, great. So I've got this soundtrack to work to. And off the back of that, I started to think about kind of light and glass and color and kind of mist and things like that, and fog, and like kind of building these weird kind of world around like shadow and light play and things like that. So yeah, that was kind of how it all started, and produced this kaleidoscopic video for Umber.
Yeah, this was one of these instances in collaboration where actually there was a kind of remarkable meeting of minds, in the sense that the project that Umber is taken from is a record that Martin and I worked on called Primary Colours, and the idea of this was to take raw pigments, colours, natural colours, and to set them to music, and to make these short sketches that we thought were evocative of the warmth or the coolness of particular shades and colours. And so actually there was already a very, very strong visual sense with what we were trying to create with the music in that regard. So yeah, it was a it was a natural progression in a way, that there was this, that you were almost looking for a similar sort of aesthetic quality in what you were working on yourself at the time, and that's what led to the video. This is an instance where it'd be great to have the stream showing all the different videos and visual material we've done, but definitely would encourage people to check out the video for Umber, which Nat worked on.
Yeah, but in kind of in terms of how it's played into how I make music now, I'm in this really nice situation where I kind of, whilst I'm playing music, sometimes I'll see a visual. Or sometimes I'll see a visual, like a film score, or like a film, someone provides me with a film, and I have to make music off the back of that. So yeah, they've kind of become interlinked, to be honest. And it's not every time, but like just sometimes there'll be something that just works perfectly, and you just go with the flow and just see what happens. And I think working on Umber is the first time I've done anything. And for those of you who don't know, like making an animation takes a really long time, and I think I accidentally chose Umber because I think it was about 7 minutes long, or something like that. And each frame, there's like 30 frames a second. Each frame took 5 minutes to render out. So I did it over the summer, and I had about 30 computers at university all rendering out this film, and like just very gradually over the course of the summer, just stitching it together to make this crazy thing. And by the end of it, I just couldn't even see. Like, it was just like colours, like just flashing, driving me mad. Yeah, but I love it. I still look back on it and really enjoy it. So
it's a parallel experience when you're working on editing audio files, and there's always these occasions where we make music, and Martin in particular is editing vocal stems and things like this, and you kind of get lost in the wormhole of like listening to the same sounds or seeing the same things again and again and again. But we'll play Umber, and for those listening live, you have to imagine the kaleidoscopic world that Nat was able to make, or you can just watch it, of course, on YouTube in parallel. But this is Private Jen at Umber, and it's from the Primary Colours EP, which came out on Need One a couple of years ago.
so that was Umber by Private Agenda, and like just off mic, me and Sean were just kind of talking about those tracks, and for me, that album just like came out of nowhere. It was like, oh, here you go, here's this like really symphonic, like huge, like warm cloud of sound, and I was just kind of, he was actually just telling me about how it came to be, and I don't know whether you've ever kind of discussed that before, and I just thought it'd be interesting to hear where that came from, you know.
Yeah, so primary colours really started out as some sketches that Martin would do in the studio to sort of wind down after a session and just to sort of let your mind drift a little bit and just try and basically just almost like do a sketch, put pen to paper and just do something else. And I remember him playing a few of these sketches. The first one I heard was for another track called Ultramarine, and I was just really obviously blown away by it because of the as you say, the kind of symphonic quality to it, the kind of beauty to it, the fact that there were not too many elements, but each element was really beautiful in its own right and quite precise. And it's one of these things actually as a project in Private Agenda we've really agonised over, and I'd be really interested to know what you thinking with regard to AK Patterson with this, which is that we make music that obviously spans quite a lot of genres. It's quite eclectic, as it were. And we talked a little while about whether we might try and release Primary Colours in our more instrumental, basically our instrumental music under a different name or under a different project. And I guess we kind of still agonise over it a little bit now, but we decided against it. We were like, no, this is it's the same hands in a way of like crafted. It's the same voices, the same whatever, and so we're gonna try and show that there's this quite diverse palette, but the elements are actually quite similar. So in terms of the synth sounds that you hear there, they're from the SH-101. It's the synth that we use on everything. It's that you'll hear on Aura, for example, a single from our album from last year. And so that's what we've been trying to do. I think is we've been taking quite a distinct like toolkit, almost a palette, and then we've been trying to be diverse and kind of genre-wise move wherever we want to go, and obviously to try and make coherent records around a particular theme or a particular sound, but overall for what we make to be quite diverse. And I almost feel like that's the case that's emerging with AK Patterson. When you listen, for example, to the first EP, you listen to Shadows, and you hear the very distinct folk roots, and then you listen to the soundtrack work we were playing, and then there's that real cinema. Well, clearly there's a cinematic quality. Yeah, exactly. And then there's and so the forthcoming EP as well, where it's as I said, it's almost like a more avant-garde kind of indie alternative nature. You can push me aside if these are not terms you agree with, but it's very very much draws upon all these different threads to weave something really nice. So yeah, I'd be interested to hear like whether that's something that's just happened naturally or is actually part of the design that you've had this exploratory phase almost in the project.
Yeah, I think it's something to do with being as I was saying, kind of like early in our careers as a band, is like you shouldn't stop and decide your one thing and just let that be what you are. Yeah. It's all about just growth and just being open to all these different things. And in terms of, identity is a hard one because, when you're trying other stuff, you're not necessarily confident in it as much as you are in doing something which is like definitely the band or something like that. Me personally, I don't worry about it too much because, I feel like if it's come out of my head, I can hide behind whatever, but it's still come out of my head or it's come out of our heads or, But it depends. It's like if you already have an identity out there, which people are expecting to hear from, sometimes it is good to just branch off. So if you can kind of justify to yourself why, then fine, go for it. If you can't and you're like struggling with it, I think it's best to just stick with your name, build on that, who cares? Like, who really cares in the end of the day? It's just music, isn't it? It's good fun.
It's definitely the case. And one of the things that when I think over the last few years that we've been making music as Private Agenda, when we very first started out, it was almost like we were trying to, I don't know, I mean, maybe I'll give Martin right of reply on the next show, but I almost feel like we were trying to attach ourselves in a way to a particular sound, a particular scene, because we've had the opportunity in it, and we were almost trying to, I don't know, we were trying to live in that world. We were doing it in our own way, but we were trying to be a part of that. And one of the things that it meant that we did is we tried to do things that other artists were sort of seen or needed to do in that scene. So that meant we were trying to DJ more seriously. I'd never DJed before. I had to learn very, very, very quickly, almost like on the job. And one of the other things that we did in kind of the early days, which was really, really good fun, was we started running a club night in Berlin at the club called Fab Fernseher, rest in peace, called Night Shift. And that was, I almost felt like that was a part of our identity that we were exploring at the time, is that we wanted to present obviously the music, but we almost wanted to present like I know lifestyle is kind of the wrong word, but it's almost like we wanted to create an extra world beyond immediately the music we released, so people had this kind of sense of all the music we like to listen to, like the kind of all these different things. Anyway, I mean, obviously we've not been doing that for a couple of years, and we've just kind of grown and done things our own way, and maybe not thought so closely about how important that is. But the reason that I mentioned that Night Shift is because definitely one of my favourite shows that we've done as Private Jenna was with you in Berlin, where we played behind this tiny DJ booth at about 2 or 3 in the morning for quite a while. We played for like an hour and a half, and it was really crazy. Like Nat was sort of bunched up next to me with his guitar. Martin was kind of like squidged up kind of next to me to the other side, just trying to keep control of things and play synth. And then I was kind of like, I'm trying to think the best way to describe it. I was kind of like dangling or like just hanging off this floating off this little plinth, trying not to knock off the headline DJ's records off the thing. But we did a live show in a club together, and it was a kind of really special, really magical moment. And we're going to play a song by a Polish artist called Selvi, who played with us that night. It's really incredible. Just to be nostalgic and to reminisce about the times where Nat's not just worked on the visual material that we talked about, like Umber from Primary Colours, but also we've had these moments that we've shared and had done really kind of exciting live shows too as well. So all different ways. So anyway, this is Selvi, Take to the Sky. You're tuning to Just Between Us on Bloop Radio. This is the monthly residency from Private Agenda, from a basement somewhere in central London. And that was Drum Thing, Space Hulk. That's out today on Scuff Records. That's a Bandcamp exclusive. The song's called Work. It's an amazing record by another dear friend of ours from High Wycombe, Pete Carr, under the Drum Thing moniker. It's a really, really great track, and the EP is really worth checking out. But yeah, this is another segue just between us. We're talking about all the different collaborations that my guest here today, Nat Redding, has worked on in the past with Private Agenda, and through a project that he's intimately involved with, AK Patterson, playing their new single, which is out today. But yeah, just again, as we were playing Pete's new single, we were reminiscing about all these various links between the projects that he's been involved with, and stuff that you've done more recently, and particularly one involving a Hungarian orchestra. I wanted to give you the mic and let you tell us all about that. It sounded pretty interesting.
Yeah, so I was in a band with Pete back when we were at school, and then ever since then we kind of always been collaborating together on different projects, and we've done quite a lot of commercial work together over the last few years, whether that's kind of TV adverts or films. As I said, we've done a film score together before. But yeah, more recently, it's that things are getting really interesting now. So he's started to work on some more kind of library kind of music, but rather than just being library music, it's kind of library music with real orchestra as a backing, and you kind of put together these tracks, you send them off, and it'd just be like something like me playing a cello line over some MIDI, and then magically they appear weeks later with a whole orchestra like playing these parts, and it's just incredible. You just kind of get these pieces back, and it just sounds mad, like absolute madness that this is how the world works nowadays. And Pete has the opportunity, if he wants, he can go over and have a look, or he can also kind of tune in live and listen, and yeah, it's just a really cool thing, really. But yeah, we're kind of working on new music as well. I've been playing cello, guitar, clarinet on a few new tracks of him, which I'm sure he'll at some point be a guest on this show. Has he been a guest? No.
You know something? He hasn't been a guest, but I feel like for the avid listeners to the show, he's the next logical guest, but just between us. We've had his brother Paul Carr, who we played earlier, and has done vocal engineering for us, has mixed records for us. And actually, there's another connection as well for the really avid listeners to the show, which is that is the drummer in Park Hotel.
Oh yeah.
And Tim Abbey was a guest earlier on in the year as well. So I feel like Pete is next in line. So I'll have to give him a ring.
Like the more you kind of hang out in London and you're part of the music industry, you kind of realise how small it really is. And you know, the world's, as soon as you kind of meet someone, you realise you've got 10 connections between them. And that's why I think this show works really well, because you start to make these links, and in reality it's just a really small world, and we all work with each other all the time, and there's always an ever-growing community. But nobody really knows everybody knows each other. So it's strange, but yeah,
it's
good fun.
Definitely no degrees of separation. I'm going to set a little challenge. I'm going to play a song from a band called Tongues, who we were fortunate to play at a show in London with, and we're going to see if we can find a connection somehow between us while we play this song. But this is their new single. This is Go Out, and it's out now on Hit. Or Heist or Hit. I've got to get it the right way around. Really, really great label. This is Tongues. Go out, enjoy.
Waiting, all we had, bored, frustrated, trying to find some meaning. Anyone would think I'm going mad. I get up to see you, I get tired in the evening, then I wake up screaming. Never thought that I might go out. Lately I've been all I got. I know that we've been over this a lot, but we don't have to be like that. I see the signs but don't feel that bad. I try to listen to myself, won't close the front door, gotta slow it down. Holding on for something new never seemed that bad, but I pushed myself to the limit. I could never think of going back. Every day I get up to see you. In a way, I get tired in the evening. In a way, and I stare at the ceiling. Never thought the light might go out. It's killing me, but it's all I got. I know that we've been over this a lot, but we don't have to be like that. I see the signs
Yeah, so that was a band called Wand with a song called Melted Rope, and yeah, I decided to play that because I've been dying to play it on something in some form for months. So if you ever see any playlists I've made for any reason, it's kind of there. But yeah, a couple of years ago, I went to Primavera Festival in Barcelona, and got to see Ty Segall live, who are unbelievable. They're just these absolutely nutters who are on stage, just like flying around, dressed as babies. You know, some weird stuff. And then when I was back in Brighton playing a show, somebody said, "Oh, you need to check out this band called Wand, and they've got a great KXP live show up. Check it out." So kind of got on there, like had a listen, and it was just this absolute madness for like 30 minutes. Just people just losing their minds, playing like really well, like really lovely guitar, really amazing drums. And then kind of worked out that they were the backing band of Ty Segall, like the lead singer and the drummer. They're completely linked, and it's just like, okay, I get it. I get why I'm so into this. And yeah, they just got this amazing stage presence. And yeah, as far as inspiration goes, for me, that's like really up there in terms of where I want to be in like coming years in the future. And this kind of experimental kind of world, which doesn't really, I don't know what kind of genre you'd say they were as a band. What would you think?
Well, they definitely draw very heavily on psychedelia.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
Drugs.
They have. Well, yeah, I'm really looking forward to the AK Patterson Psych album. That's gonna be a sight to behold.
Yeah.
Where you take up like garage rock and psych and stuff. Yeah, I'm ready for that.
Yeah, well, I would say like I mean, I can't say too much about it, but a couple of the songs on this upcoming EP are kind of a little bit edging towards the psych world and drawing from some of the kind of themes in the first song about space and kind of the abyss and out there, and like a little bit of the weirdness, the chasm, augmented reality, surrealism. These are all things we're drawing upon, and at the moment we're working on a new music video, which we've got to put together in a very short period of time with very little money. But that's where the best stuff comes from, in my opinion. When you really don't know what you're doing, but you've got great people surrounding you, that's where the best kind of stuff really comes from. And yeah, so
it's kind of really interesting to hear you talk about limitations in that way, because one of the things that we've been talking about for a little while is about it's kind of interesting you talk about kind of like our careers as musicians in a way, like this idea of music as a career is a kind of a bit of an odd concept at the moment, given that we're balancing making music with loads of other things. And it's been really interesting to hear how you've drawn upon your experience as an architect and all the work that you've done with more graphic related design and how you brought that into your musical projects, and this idea of limitations, not just financial in terms of being able to try and make something great with limited resources, but also time limitation as well, where you feel that you've got to try and get not just the best out of yourself, but the best out of everybody around you in quite a limited amount of time, is something that I know that Martin and I, in a way, it's a challenge that we really enjoy, because we've always sort of had this sense. But whether it was just me going over to his parents' house and we had 4 hours on a Sunday afternoon to try and make something together, or whether it's now we're working at the moment in 2 different cities and trying to make an album together. It has its own challenges, but at the same time, the limitations of it are really great. It focuses the mind in certain ways. So yeah, and I think it's thought it was interesting.
Yeah, so something that I've kind of has always been in the background and back of my mind is that growing up, like music was kind of what I did, and I was always kind of going toward this avenue of like studying music. And as Sean was saying earlier, like I could get off mic, he was saying you could get into a position where I was doing music full time, but for me, I've always kind of fought against that a little bit, because I kind of care about it too much, and it's something that to me is magic. Like I don't really understand it. I don't really understand why I can do it. People tell me that I can do it, and I don't know why that is. And yeah, I try and hold on to that as much as I can with music. So yeah, I think I'm lucky in a way in that by not studying it, I've always really pushed to keep it within my life, and kind of that's why I kind of take on all these different opportunities whenever I can. Basically, being a yes man, which I always get told off for being, because I kind of overcommit. But like, yeah, but yeah, it means that you kind of get all these different experiences, and very gradually they all kind of start converging. So, you know, originally I wasn't doing anything that was architectural and musical, but just very slowly, like, architecture is becoming a bigger part of the animation I'm doing, which is driven by the music. And yeah, just slowly I think I'm just kind of finding my way, whatever that way is. Who knows? But it's yeah, it's just something to think about if you're a musician. Like, how do you want it to play in your life? Do you want it to be your focus? Do you want it to be the thing that you like? You can still play in any setup, even if it's with amateurs, professionals, whatever it is, even if it's just singing with your family or whatever. It's always fun, you know. Yeah. There's a place for all music in my mind. So yeah, that's kind of my yeah.
I think the other thing as well that I've definitely found is that there's the thing that always draws us to it is I don't know, as you said, that magical quality that there is to when you're kind of like just playing with friends and you're just trying out ideas and mucking around, and it's not serious, and being able to like really tap into that state of mind that you find yourself in when you're doing that, where you're quite detached actually from making a piece of music that has to, I don't know, it has to fit XY criteria, it's got to work for radio, it has to have these limitations on, it has to be delivered in this amount of time, and actually somehow reverting to I'm trying to think the best way of describing it, like kind of original form almost, and the reason that you first start, basically what the first love is, the reason why you first get into it, and somehow always having always being in touch with that is can be difficult sometimes, particularly when what you're doing has a larger audience, it's more serious, and the different pressures kind of get added on top of the project, and the sense that it has to cohere in certain ways, and you maybe want to expand it in other ways and kind of do what you want to do, but the balance is key. And as I said, it's been really interesting to hear in a little bit more detail about all these other kind of musical worlds that you've been able to explore, and how they also all then feed back into AK Patterson as well, and just everything you do really. So it's exciting.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is getting boring, who knows, but there's a thing that I was listening to an audio bit the other day, and they were talking about this state of flow that musicians get into, and that really struck with me, because I was like, oh right, okay, that state of flow is something that you can actually apply to so many different aspects of your life, whether it's like, you know, when you're in the zone, you're kind of doing this thing, like, it's really great when you're improvising in music, that's just like the perfect state of flow, and it doesn't really matter what you're doing, but you're kind of creating, and then suddenly someone will go, oh, that's great. But that applies to anything in life. So, you know, if you're getting stuck in a moment and you can't solve a problem or anything like that, or even if it's just a day-to-day task like this, it's really great to have music as a background to kind of help you with these situations. So yeah, I would advise anyone who doesn't play an instrument or wants to play an instrument, just go for it. Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter how good you are. It's just a really nice thing to do, and it will always help you in some way.
Talking magical music, I've been really keen to get back into the studio and to play this beautiful new song from Esther Hayes, another artist who we're really fortunate to know from High Wycombe, and this is 7 Stars. It's the second song of the new EP called Tether. It's really, really worth checking out. It's really beautiful. This is Esther Hayes.
7 stars lost their light. A burning sun knocked them out with all its blinding, raging might. It smashed them apart like a child with a hammer. Unconscious of the damage inflicting, unaware of the impact of careless actions, careless actions. The stars had to learn the sun wasn't only to blame. The stars had to learn not to let the sun play this game. 7 stars lost their light, and with them left the night, sky blank. Silly stars should have known, should have seen it coming a mile from home. There's nothing new here, trouble always follows the sun and all it's becoming, becoming, becoming. The stars had to learn the sun wasn't only to blame. The stars had to learn not to let the sun play this game. You played a game, always leaving me burned. I'm the one to blame for you, I always yearn. I screamed foul play, you smiled and walked away. For you, these things never mattered to you. Matters of the heart and nothing but clutter. 7 stars lost their light. Why did they never falter? Why did they never falter? With undivided dedication, unaltered, they hope for the sun to have changed, for this situation to have grown. The stars had to learn the sun wasn't only to blame. The stars had to learn not to let the sun play this game. The stars had to learn the sun wasn't only to blame. The stars had to learn not to let the sun play this game. You played a game, always leaving me burned. I'm the one to blame. Oh, you played a game, always leaving me burned. I'm the one to blame. For you, I always yearn.
That was 7 Stars, Esther Hayes, a beautiful new EP called Tether, written and produced in wonderful High Wycombe. We've come full circle. Beautiful, sweet home High Wycombe. We've been taking a real musical tour on this episode of Just Between Us with Nat Redding, 1/3 of AK Patterson. We had the privilege of playing their new single earlier on in the show. We've been talking about the times that we've shared the stage in Berlin and Brighton, about the various records that Nat has played on with Private Gender, and then all the different projects that he's been involved with, trying to join the dots between people that have been on the show previously, and also people that might be on the show in the future, and the people that we've worked with. And it's definitely that eclectic sense of has definitely come across pretty clearly today. Yeah, we've just got a few more minutes, so I wanted to kind of like open it back out again and just say, what is there anything exciting we can look forward to from yourself, or more specifically maybe from AK Patterson before the end of the year, or as COVID making everything a little bit more tricky to determine?
I thought you were going to say, "Oh, we've been all over High Wycombe in this show now," but it's like it's more than Wycombe. It's more than Wycombe. No, yeah. So we've got 3 more tracks on this EP, which we're going to release periodically over the next few months. So yeah, keep an eye out on social media and things like that, and there'll be some music videos and some art like accompanying that. And yeah, we're just currently in the process of trying to set up some kind of socially distant shows as well to support everything we're doing, and kind of just get back on track really after this manic lockdown, which is, I think, exciting for everyone involved in this industry. It's been crazy. But yeah, I've really enjoyed coming on this show, and thanks so much for having us, and on Bleep Radio as well. It's a great, if I would advise anyone to come down here and check it out if they can, because it's like a really nice space in somewhere secret in central Adelaide. Look it up. It's in Farringdon. It's in Clerkenwell. But yeah, it's really cool. So yeah.
No, this is an invitation if people, want to come and hang out when we're doing the show next month. Just drop the show a line, and we can arrange that. Or if you'd like to be a guest perhaps on the show, on Just Between Us, then let us know. We're open-minded, and we'd love to see you. But I think the thing that's been really heartening actually about a lot of the music we played today is that so much of the music has been really recently released by people we know or people very close to us, and a lot of it's been finished off in the last few months, and it's been really heartening actually to just hear the diversity and the quality of all the different things that the people that we know make. It's got a real magic touch, and it feels really special to be able to play it out again for you all.
On that note, I should just say that Esther, who made that last track, it's been amazing. We did a visual album together with our friend Greg Sheffield a couple of years ago. John T was the director, and Kat was a producer, I think, on that one. But yeah, she's amazing. She's been over the years, her style has changed, and slowly she's been growing into this amazing kind of winged bird girl, and she's awesome. Yeah, so keep an eye out for her, because she's going to be amazing. Definitely. She already is. But
well, it's a really, really beautiful EP that's written, produced, magic touch. Definitely, the Tether, Esther Hayes, definitely worth checking out. So we have time possibly for maybe just a couple more songs. So it's Friday, and we're going to have to party in somehow. But I want to play this new single from Blue Hawaii's "I Felt Love." It's really, really incredible. So if you're there, wherever you are, listening online in your living room, let's get it on. Let's get down.